So, is this symbol evil or is it good? And what does it really mean? The eye and the triangle, the pyramid. And why is it on the dollar bill? Well, first of all, the eye itself is very important. And of course, we know that the eye has been associated with something called Illuminati. The reason why you have the word Illuminati, incidentally, is from, in the ancient Sumerian language, the gods were called Ilus. Ilu, or I-L-L-U, or I-L-U, and in Semitic, it became E-L-L, but L was actually comes from I-L-U, which gives us the concept that God is enlightenment. So our word Illuminati or illumination. God is illumination. The eye represents illumination. And of course, the triangle with the eye has, of course, been used in Freemasonry. And incidentally, it's used in Freemasonry all over the world. It's used in Masonic documents. More pictures. This is the Masonic apron. CBS has the all-seeing eye, and you'll see it's placed within the triangle. This is in the Far East. Disney uses it for Atlantis, advertisement for the movie Atlantis. What does the symbol of the eye represent, and where did the idea originate? The idea of the eye is from Egypt. It's the Eye of Horus. And again, now you see the eye in the triangle, but it is the Horus eye. It's the Eye of Horus. We see it also in Time Warner uses it. Corporations use it. We see it in a government document, and One Nation Under God. You see what God it is, Horus. And I keep wanting to get off into a totally different subject when I get into Horus. Horus was the sun, and Horus walked across the sky in 12 steps. When he was born, he was called Horus of the first step, and then Horus of the second step. And Horus ultimately took 12 steps. That's where the alcoholics have a 12-step program. So do you have a 12-step program? You go to school in the first grade and you end up in the 12th grade. It's a 12-step program. And consequently, Horus was the sun. The sun walked across the sky in 12 steps, called 12 Horuses. H-O-R-U-S, Horus. We today change it around and make it H-O-U-R-S. So it's 12 hours. It's actually 12 Horuses. And the sun brings light into the world. It walks across the sky in 12 steps and brings light into the world. And so consequently, and light in Latin was Lucius, or Luke, Skywalker. He does battle with Darth Vader, the Prince of Darkness. So all of this is very interesting, but it's making the point that the Eye of Horus is also known as the Eye of Ra. It represents the sun and expresses the divine omnipotence of God, the Creator. So in the ancient Egyptians, the sun represented the presence of God, the eye of God. The eye was a primary organ of sense perception. The eye is closely connected with light, the sun, the spirit. It is a symbol of mental vision, the mirror of the soul, an instrument of soul intellectual expression. So the light, the sun, Horus, represents intellectual, spiritual enlightenment. The symbol of the sun god Ra combines the images of the sun and the eye. Consequently, the sun was always referred to as the eye of God, God's sun, the light of the world. Of course, the sun is the light of the world. And he walks on water. Yes, go out and watch him walk on water at 6 o'clock in the evening. He walks on water. And just as he is leaving on a cloud, he foretold he will come back on a cloud. That's right. Every morning about 5:30, he comes back on a cloud, and every evening he leaves on a cloud. We're talking about God's Son, S-U-N, not S-O-N.
I wanted to do a brief video on someone that I admire quite a bit and who's had a huge influence on me in terms of the themes and topics that I bring up here on this channel. And that is Jordan Maxwell, who it seems passed away this last Wednesday, March 23rd of 2022. And he made no secret about the fact that his health has been failing, or at least has been declining. And you could see it in his lectures, his recent lectures and interviews. And I think that I think he was ready. I think he knew that his time was coming. I'm not basing that on any specific facts I can point to. I'm just, watch some of his recent videos in the last few years, and I don't think there was a conspiracy to murder him at this late stage in the game. He'd been speaking his whole life about the Vatican and secret societies and the dark rulers of our world. I think if they wanted to take him out, they would have done it a while ago. The damage has been done. His material is all out there. Was he working for them? Was he some type of operative? I don't know. But it's the message that matters. Just like Jordan speaks about Jesus Christ in the Bible, and he calls it the greatest story ever told. And people accuse him of blasphemy because he's saying it's a story and it's not real and there was no Jesus. Well, they discount what he says about the message and the words of Jesus Christ in the Bible. And if you really look into it, you will find that he has a profound respect and appreciation for the word, of the Bible, because he studied it so thoroughly and he understands it so much more deeply than most Christians. So to your average Christian, he sounds blasphemic because he's turning it inside out and he's showing you the deeper layers of it because he actually understands it better. So in that sense, he's more of a Christian, or was more of a Christian than most, quote unquote, practicing Christians, in the sense that he understands that the word is what really matters. The symbology is what matters, the symbol, the practical usage of the information in the Bible and other writings. That's what really matters. That's what makes it relevant today. And I would even go so far as to say that Jordan Maxwell is one of the reasons why I opened my mind to what's in the Bible. So I would say that's probably the opposite of what a blasphemic message would do to someone, unless I'm just completely backwards in my thinking. And anyhow, he spoke a lot about how his work has been stolen from him recently, or at least in the past few years, including the website jordanmaxwell.com. So he was always very adamant that jordanmaxwellshow.com was his only legitimate website, which is what you're looking at here. So you may see other websites out there that that say jordanmaxwell.com or jordanmaxwell.org or jordanmaxwellshow. Whatever. But he was always very adamant that this was the only legitimate website. So you may want to check it out while it's still there, because there's a lot of information on here. Look at all these pages here, and the links are still active. They may not. Who knows how long they'll be active for? There may have been a bill paid on the domain here that may expire any day, and who knows if his assistant or whoever is taking care of his affairs will update it. Hopefully they will. And if you see here, he's got his new Research Society website, which I think he created this back in 2015 or so. I went ahead and joined and paid the $30, and it gives you access to more material. I don't know if this is all still legitimate, so I'm not going to encourage anyone to go there and pay the $30 without the disclaimer that I don't know if it's all functional. But you can still log into it if you are a member. So that indicates to me that it's still kind of up and going. And here it is. And there's a lot more information here in these pages. One of the most significant is this lecture by Dr. Stuart R. Crane, which is quite relevant today when you see what's happening with the US dollar and the petrodollar. Now, if you're like me and your eyes start to glaze over when someone starts going on about mathematics or financial experts going on and on about statistics, That gets very boring for me. But if you're really interested to know how fractional reserve banking works and central banks and how they really are the enemy of the people, there is no better lecture explanation anywhere that I've heard than this one here called Wheat Receipts, which was recorded in 1971 by Dr. Stuart Crane. You can probably find it on YouTube, but it's here on the research page here, and it just breaks it down in a very listenable, easy to understand, layman's terms kind of way. And it really breaks it down, and I think it's important. It's really important, more important than ever, for people to understand the that's been going on with the central banks, and it's key to understanding, in a way, all the world wars and the methods of the great oppressor. They say follow the money. Apparently, Jordan also had his own YouTube channel. I don't know when this was. I guess it was 2 years ago he created this. I didn't even know about it till yesterday, but he's here talking about it, so it seems to be legitimate. And there's lots of good stuff here that he's uploaded, presumably from his own archives. So although a lot of this is available online already, you're probably getting better quality versions and maybe even less edited versions here. I'm not sure how these members only sections work. Hopefully he was able to designate someone to handle all his affairs and get all this stuff to keep it going so people can still take advantage of it. But it's hard to say because he made no secret about his situation towards the end, and he didn't seem to be doing too well financially, although he was very loved, and I think there were good people that took care of him. Now, your average person would probably watch a few minutes of a Jordan Maxwell lecture and just get really depressed and turn it off and just go, oh, I don't want to hear about all that doom and gloom. But the difference between your average, fake news doom and gloom update on NBC or whatever, and Jordan Maxwell's message is that he's really getting to the structure of society and control and what's really behind it. And it is depressing and it is a downer because most of us define happiness in terms of how well we navigate the existing system, how whoever can rise to the top of this system is considered successful, and we idolize them, which even I think the most ignorant person understands on some level that the hypocrisy of it all. But anyway, most of us choose to live in that world where that is the definition of success. But if we really are dedicated to the truth and understanding what's really going on in the world, it's going to put you outside of that system. And most people, they just don't want to live outside of that system. But the thing is, someone's got to do it. And some of us have this feeling inside that we can't shake, that just something is not right. I may not be the smartest guy on the planet, but I have a pretty good instinct for, when something doesn't feel right. And I think a lot of other people do too. And we're the people that gravitate towards individuals like Jordan Maxwell and their message. And in a way, it's our job to help other people in the world come to the truth and realize the hypocrisy and the ultimately destructive nature of their perhaps unwitting participation in this unnatural system that is built by those who simply want to control us like cattle. And although it may seem very down and dark, if you can get beyond it and you can stand outside of it, you can then begin to think as a sovereign human being of the planet Earth. You can then start asking the real questions that matter and start getting answers and get to the bottom of who you are and who we are. And we can be part of the tradition that brings humanity back to its natural source of natural meaning so that we can reach our maximum potential. Jordan Maxwell spoke a lot about the importance of symbol literacy. And in this last section here, I'd like to just briefly pay homage to that concept and hopefully illustrate how I've applied that to my own life and how you can do the same. and we can all become more symbol literate and wake up to the system of control in society and understanding it and getting beyond it through symbol literacy. So if you take something like the Van Halen logo, and it doesn't have to be the Van Halen logo, it could be the logo of your favorite artist, or your favorite company stock that you invest in, or whatever it is, your favorite clothing line. But the Van Halen logo is just it's very pleasing to the eye. It's very, mathematically symmetrical. It lends itself very well to doodling on a piece of paper in the middle of class, where the teacher might be going on and on a lecture, and you're thinking to yourself, wow, I'd rather be, jumping in the air and high on cocaine at a concert and partying like a rock star and having sex with a bunch of groupies. So this is the power of the logo. All of that is brought up in your mind just from viewing the logo. Now, you show this logo to somebody else and it may mean nothing to them. They may not know anything about Van Halen. They just might say it looks cool and they move on. But to someone who understands the history behind it, they're going to spend hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars when they see this logo just flash in front of them and they see this button that says buy tickets here. Thousands of people show up and pack a hall because they saw this logo, again, due to the knowledge that they have about it. Without that knowledge and the context that the logo, if I see the logo written on cement, on the ground, I may recognize it, but I'm just going to keep walking. But if I see it in an ad online on the internet, the context of the logo alerts me that, wow, I can pay money and I can go see this group. And again, the power of the logo and the context and your knowledge of it is all what comes together to create this event where people are going to pay all this money and show up and scream loudly. So now we look at older logos, whether it be the double cross or the, this ancient, this Necronomicon symbol, the black sun, the unicursal hexagram, the pentacle, the Ouroboros, the Star of David, the ancient Egyptian Ankh. These are much older symbols, obviously with much more history to them. So it requires a lot more research and a lot more study to be able to discern what the symbols mean exactly within the context that we find them. And this was a lifelong study of Jordan Maxwell's, and he's there to help us on the way, to give us a shortcut so that when we go to Washington, D.C. and we see these obelisks or the Statue of Liberty in New York and her flame torch and the thing that she has on her head, or you go to the Denver airport, you look at the murals there. People like Jordan Maxwell are here to help us understand these things, because what they reveal is the plan of the great oppressor that is controlling us and society, as opposed to the symbols, the occult symbols and themes that we get from pop icons like Lady Gaga, Madonna, and various hip hop artists who are now incorporating a lot of this Illuminati symbolism and occult symbols into their work. Basically, what this is they're being these individuals are being sponsored by those that are controlling you. So basically, your enslavers are feeding you this symbology so that you translate it in the way that they want you to understand it. And they need to ridicule people like Jordan Maxwell, the people that are trying to help you understand what they're really about, what they really mean. You see, they know they can't stop you from seeing these symbols. So that is why they need to control the way that you understand them. And they need to glamorize it and make it all about, oh, it's just partying like a rock star like Van Halen. They need to do that so that you think that you're free. You think, well, I'm high as a kite, I'm sexy, I'm having sex, I'm on top of the world. I look just like Kim Kardashian or, whatever basketball player. I'm on top of the world. Meanwhile, they're screwing you over and destroying the dollar and eroding the United States power on the world stage, and there's all this corruption, and you don't care about it because you look in the mirror and, hey, I look good. I've got all the drugs I need. I'm a free person. I'm not a slave, and they will use race. They will use racism, and they will use political correctness, and they will use they will hide their messages in the guise of trying to liberate and make people social equality. They will utilize you as their foot soldiers and deceive you into thinking that they're trying to make you more free, but what they're really doing is giving you a false temporary sense of freedom within their construct and their specific control structure. The more we become symbol literate, the easier it is to see their plan, and that's exactly why they need to call everything a conspiracy theory and demonize and make fools out of people like Jordan Maxwell, who are trying to help wake people up to the real truth behind and to understand a lot of these symbols and the context they appear in. I'm trying to get away from YouTube and Google completely because I'm just getting tired of their increasing censorship and their spying. So I'm inviting people to visit my page on rumble.com. And you can find me there. It's JoeGilmor without the E. I'm trying to incorporate more exclusive content. I did a couple blogs updating the Dimebag Darrell murder. So these are not the same as the ones I put on YouTube. So if you'd like to see an updated version of that, it's exclusively available here. And hopefully, if I get enough people coming over to Rumble, I can go ahead and pull the plug on my YouTube channel.